Okay, my outstanding friends, get yourself ready. We're going to be going over Ammonites. Now, these are these little curlicue looking things they claim went extinct 66 million years ago. Prior to that, it's like 400 million years ago they claim they started, and then they went extinct 66 million years ago. We're going to look at these extremely carefully, and I'm going to tell you, my claim is that they are not what they claim they are. All right, so we have opposing opinions on what they are. And they are not creatures, they are parts of creatures. Get ready. Okay, my friends, get ready. These are Ammonites, they call them. And let's take a look at somebody that went out and found one. And when he cracked it open, what was inside of it was the Ammonite. These are what I call tendon balls. Now, they're stone balls that were from anchors that were inside creatures' bodies. And there was a whole bunch of them. So he's got one here and he's popping it open. All right, now let's look at that thing carefully. There's another one down there. There's one over here. So he's pulling them out, and he's going to pop this one open and see what's inside of it. Now, I'm going to go slowly through this so we can see. There's going to be a cord going into this somewhere. And I'm not sure where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere on this ball. And I think it's probably from right there. And they snap right off at the edge, you know, at the top. Now, he's going to take that and smack it open, and you're going to see what's inside. And they're all over the place. He's going way up there to get it. Now, he's cracking it open. You saw how perfectly round it was. What's he going to find inside? Boom. This is an Ammonite, they call it. Now, watch. You see it? That's an Ammonite. Now, I believe what's going on here is there's fibers coming into this. And when they come in, they wrap around through these Ammonites, and that gives them a little bit of play. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But that's what he's finding inside this particular ball. Okay, I'm going to move kind of quick on this. I got a lot of things going on, but this is a strap coming down to one of those balls. You see that strap? And I think the strap actually broke off of its where it moored, snapped right off of there. That's what I believe. But he's got these all over the place. This is Tyson's Mudfossil Adventures. Tyson Carlson doing a fabulous job out there. And I'm sure he'll be looking inside these to see if we can find out what's going on inside. Now, what I just showed you anatomically is basically like this. The creatures we had on Earth were just staggeringly large. And these are microscopic in us. However, they are big. I mean, absolutely huge in some cases around the world. They're everywhere, literally everywhere. Nobody's ever been able to understand them, but they are part of the anchoring system of tendons. This is a tendon. You see a tendon? And all these balls come down and they lock in, and they have these little straps coming out of them, like the little strap I showed you from Tyson's and one of those balls. And they're all over, and there's ligaments, there's tendons, then there's fascia, then there's interstitium, and all the coating of your organ, all the tunica, fat membranes, are loaded with these, because those are the securing points that anchor all of that fabric, so that you can do gushy around like this, but it comes back to where it's supposed to be. That's what these are all about. Now, some tendons, in the case of this type of tendon, this is how they develop. And then they get mineralized in the center. Some of them have that style, some of them are solid, some of them are hollow. There's all kinds of different tendons. This is some tendon. It's the tendon balls. This is clay. And the clay is normally skin. Kaolin clay is skin. And bentonite is a little bit tougher, but clay is skin. And these anchor in the skin. You can shift it around, you come back. The whole earth is nothing but bodily parts. This is another style. It's the eggshell style, and it's just got layer after layer after layer. Now this one here is, I believe this stuff around the outside is like chert, flint, that type of stuff. Very tough stuff. This got a hole in the center, but that was a round, big round one like the other ones. Now this is another place. This is nothing more than this. Same thing. And at the end of, down in the very bottom, there's going to be tiny little balls on the end of those little fibers, just like I showed you before. So this is going to be at the end of all of those fibers, or the balls. You have to have an anchor, and that's what these anchors are. And they're balls, but inside of that ball is that ammonite. All right, you see these balls? They're everywhere, and because they're just everywhere in the body. Now, these little blocks down in here, you see this? I think this is something similar to the ammonites that were in the center of the balls, and then there's a strap that comes in, anchors into those, and you just can't pull them out. They just cannot come out. That's what makes them so tough, the tendons. Here's another one of those balls, and again, they have all different styles inside. This one looks to me like it has a little wiggle room to move around, but it's still got a ball. And of course, that's where I believe the core went into this one. All right, this is what they call goniatites. And coming out of them, they have all these little, they say, oh, they must have been sea creatures, and all these little things coming out of them were I don't know, sea creature things, similar to nautiluses. But it's not. Here's what a goniatite looks like. All right, there's the ball, and there's the strap coming out. Goniatite. All right, that's the strap coming out of the ball. Now, as far as I can determine, these are all those little straps coming out, leading down into a ball or more balls inside one of these round balls. So there's either just one ball inside and all those filaments are going in, or there's a bunch of little balls. I'm not sure. It's not very clear, but I believe these are like, what happens on a tendon is when it's stretched, it's nice and tight. When it goes bad and gets cut, boing, it snaps and it goes, they call it a wrinkle zone. And that's about as wrinkless as it gets. And it's something like this. All these little things are coming down in to anchor somewhere inside the ball, and they all wrinkle up when it snaps because they're being pulled. You see that? That's stretched. This is tight. They're very tight. And then when they snap, they'll wrinkle up. You see this? This is Hunstanton's cliffs or beach over in the United Kingdom. I'd like to see somebody go down and try to pop some of these open and see what is inside of those. They may just be a round ball. I don't know what's going to be inside of them, but there normally is some kind of a structure. I don't know what the structure is in these. I've never seen one of these broken open. But this was skin at one time. This was the skin of a creature. And that right there is the flappy tissue underneath the skin. And these balls were stuck in there, anchoring that. And other than that, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like in us. It's exactly the same. You see this? Here, and then the fleshy stuff, all the balls are eroded out. The flesh is turned into mud. And this is what it looks like in a living creature. There it is. The ball's just eroded out. The flesh turned into mud. The skin is up at the top. There it is. The mucosa, skin. Now, these things are just absolutely tiny. Absolutely enormously tiny. And they're everywhere. You see this? These are called Amoki marbles. They're everywhere. This is out in Utah and Arizona. Same as this, but they're littler, and then all the mud is washed away. No more cliffs. Now, here's the way I'm looking at it. This is in the core of that ball. The ball would be big and round like this. But coming out of that core would be this. You see these little spots here? Those are all of the cords that came out that went out to attach to wherever this anchored into. Now think about this. Nature is so elegant. There's nothing alive in here. These are basically holes that were in here, and they were probably filled with fluid, little chambers. And coming out of here would be where the anchor would go out and attach, that cord coming out. If you pulled hard on that cord, what would happen? This would be a little bit of give in here. You see how they're sort of scooped? If it went like that, these would all sort of bend back in here a little bit, and you could give a little jiggle here, a little jiggle there. These cords, this is almost like a tendon in a body. It can stretch just a little tiny bit. Now, you're not going to get much out of this. When it was alive, it was still flexible. So you could get a little bit of flex to it, enough to keep the anchor from being ripped out of your body and the cord being ripped out of the anchor. There's another style, but these bumps would have really locked it in there solid. That's the key. Your anchor, the anchors are pretty tough and solid. I think I showed you this. Yeah, this one here is flexible. There's so many different styles, it's unbelievable. There's a pretty good size one right there. The same thing, it would have been just a little bit of give. All right, here's another one. You see all these little stripes coming off here? They match up with these little stripes, basically. And again, this is an anchor. This was the stalk that would have come out. And you can see these things here locked into this ball. So there was a ball surrounding this. I don't know how big it was. Now don't forget, the ball is a completely different substance than the anchor that's inside of it. And the balls eroded away in some cases and just left the anchors, and they always thought, well, this was just a little sea creature, but it's actually part of that anchoring system. I mean, you want to see something cool? These are no-toes. We found tons of them. The ones I have here are completely filled and perfect. The ones other people are finding are eroded, and they're just basically eroded, but you can see that's where the toes were, and that's where the fibula was, and the tibia sat here. Mine has the same thing. The tibia sits here. The other part, the fibula, which is the second bone, comes up the side. Absolutely flawless. Now, this was from Tish Egerton. This looks like one of these ammonites. I showed this to anybody, and that's one of those ammonites. That's ammonite. I said, no, it isn't. And I can show you why I can make that statement and make it stick. This is an ankle right there. That's an ankle. That strap coming up would have sit, the bone, the tibia sit right down here. And that strap coming up would have connected to it exactly like you have here. You see the round heel? You see the round heel? You see that strap coming up? You see that strap coming up? All right, a bone would have been right here. Sticking right up from there. And that strap would have come over and attached right to that bone, just as it does on this one. Now let me show you this in detail. And that is not an ammonite. It has nothing to do with being an ammonite. That is a spring. Okay, Roger, convince me that that is not an ammonite. Well, I will try. Now, this, remember, was the heel. That's a regular heel bone. That strap coming off there, which I showed you before, would have run all the way up to connect to this bone, which sat in this cradle. And that would allow your foot to rock back and forth, and the strap would hold everything together. That's what they're there for. It's a tendon. Now you see this wrinkly spot up here? Look at that very, very closely. All right, this is the key. If you don't look close, you're not looking. You're just not paying attention. And that's what happens. Oh, it's an ammonite. I don't want to see anymore. That's all. Case closed. Go away. No, absolutely not. I don't go away easily. All right, so let's get into the details. The heel. As far as I'm concerned, there's no question. There's that little lump on the bottom of the heel that is the pad underneath. This right here, this little strap that comes up, and it comes up. You see how it comes up nice here, and then it gets all these little bumpy looking things here? That is the wrinkle zone of this flat tendon. That's the wrinkle zone. Why it all wrinkly back like that? It's still nice and flat here, and it would have been nice and flat all the way up to this bone, up at the top. But that bone, she's in there, and it snapped and it came back. Now, what's the rest of the stuff that looks like an ammonite? Let's look at it close. Again, you don't look close, you're just not looking. This was from a no-toe foot. Now, if the guy was standing there, everything's fine, everything's perfect. Now, if he steps forward like this is going to wrinkle back. The no-toes, there is a toes in here, but they're just little tiny stubby things. And it would have pushed this up, all right, because he goes down like this. So this has to push up a little bit. And what does it do? It has a spring. So the spring unloads up this way. All right, well, what does that do? It means this has to pull in with the spring. You see, you step on your toes, they push this up, so this goes like that. And that's fine, you walk, you walk, you walk, you walk, you walk, you walk. It's no big deal. But when you're really pushing this hard, this goes past a certain point, this engages. You see this strap right here and the spring? And it comes right up to here. This comes right around and right up to here. So this goes up, this gets pulled down, which pulls this spring in. So this spring is loaded, and when it gets loaded fully, this spring engages and pulls into this slot. There's a hot slot right there for it to pull into. Up, and this one goes with it. So you got this double motion, and it comes back down when you relax. Up and down. Now this padded looking stuff here, as far as I'm concerned, exactly what it is padding. All right, because when this comes here, this has to goo open a little bit and come back. It's just like gummy stuff. I think they may even call it gumite. I'm not sure. But it goes up and comes back, up and comes back. So this is the secondary part of the initial spring. And that's the heel bone in the back. The strap is sprung. And the wrinkle's known as here. That's a no-toe. And she found this right where she found all these other, this was Tish Egerton. She found this and a whole bunch of other feet right in that area. She found a whole leg from one of these. See, these are the ones like Tish found. And this one here, this is the one we're just looking at. That would have been in here. That would have been part of the no-toe. On the side, that's where the springs were. And these were like the little sausage-looking toes that are in there. They're in, but they're built in. All right, this is my type of no-toes that I have here. And I think there's a lot of different styles, or quite a few. But this is, it looks like a shoe, but it is not a shoe. And it even looks like it has a sole built into it. You see that? It looks just like a sole. But it's not a shoe. This is the guy's foot. And there's that little cradle where the tibia, the big round bone, would hit here. And so you'd be rocking on that bone. And then the second bone comes down on the side here. It's called the fibula. So, and that one just glues to the side. That's why it just basically falls off. And you can see in the ones Tish found, basically the same thing. Wherever they went to here. You see, this is the fibula. They just fall right off. The fibula falls right off. So, but I don't know whether this is exactly the same style as hers or not. But like I say, I have another one here that's just huge, just gigantic. It looks like a big balloon foot. All right, this is a stone ball I have here. And this right here is where the attachment went. And it's pretty much intact completely. But here's what it looks like. Hold on. This is in the microscope. Now here's what it looks like here. It's just a little round stone ball. But it's one of those that was where the cord came out. And other than that, it's pretty well rounded. You know, it's a little beat up, but not too bad. Now, whether it had an Ammonite inside, I don't know. I'd like to smack it open and see. But I got a feeling it is the same style as the Ammonite ones. Some of them didn't have that. I showed you, they had all different styles. All right, I showed you there is a ton of different tendon balls, and there is a ton of these different Ammonites. They all have a different structure. Here's the disaster. They say this is 400 million years ago, up to 66 million years ago, and then they all died. It says Ammonites are excellent index fossils. What's index fossils? It links the rock layers in which a particular species of this genus is found to specific geological time periods. So they're saying, well, if you see this one, it means it's 400 million years old, it's 200 million years old. Well, it's ridiculous. So it has nothing to do with how old it was. They all died, yes, at a certain point, and that certain point was the Great Flood. And that's where all my stuff came from. And all of these huge creatures on Earth with these big stone balls died. That's what it was. It has nothing to do with time, geological time frames. All of this problem, geology is totally lost. Anthropology, paleontology, it makes no sense at all now when you realize these creatures were giant and they all died in the Great Flood. And this is what kills them, because this is what it says about a Great Flood in the Bible, killing off all the giants. And this, God is not allowed in academia. You can't talk about God. They'll put you right out in the woods. So we have to stop this. We have to get our academic people to understand that what they've been saying is not true, and they can't continue to say it with all the evidence that I have. There's no stopping it now. There's no way in the world they can stand up with a straight face and do what they're doing and then ask for money to tell you to say what they tell you to say, or they'll fail you and make you look like a fool because you're not able to say what they force you to say. This has become a very, very terrible system, the education system. Absolutely terrible. You know, I hate to keep coming down this road, but I'm never going to back off of this. They are just, all they're in there for is the money, to figure out a way to get a funding and take your money from you. It doesn't matter what they tell you as long as you pay. And if you don't pay and you don't say what they tell you to say, you go work in the fields. They've got you right by the Cayunes, my friends.